Hello, today we continue to study quantum numbers, and we will show today the relationship of these numbers in describing electrons in an atom. So here you can see in the table just quantum numbers, the main quantum number, orbital quantum number. Here we will describe what level and sub-level will be for electrons. Here magnetic quantum number, number of orbitals, and how many electrons will be on this orbital. So, well, let's start with the first energy level. If n is equal to 1, then this is the first electron level closest to the nucleus. So we have to calculate L. L is in the relationship between n by the formula where to calculate L, you take 1 away from n. Then in this calculation we get that the orbital number is 0. In this bond we will have at the first energy level field S sublevel because the orbital number 0 corresponds to S electrons. Such electrons, recall, have a spherical shape, Now we have the magnetic number as ml, it's plus minus L, don't forget it goes through 0. But since we have L equal to 0, the magnetic number in this case will be 0. But I will remind you that we have the concept of a quantum cell, and then in this connection for S electrons, there will be one quantum cell. Now, how many electrons will we have in this case? The number of orbitals, there will be one orbital, one S orbital. So how many electrons will there be? Let's see. Let's count that by the formula 2L plus 1 times 2. And since L is 0, we will conclude that the number of electrons at a given energy level and sublevels will be 2. Let's move on to the second energy level. Here, perhaps first of all, the repetition of the orbital number 0, and this will correspond to 2s. This will correspond to 0. Of one quantum cell under the s electrons, and will also have one orbital and 2 electrons on this orbital. But the second level consists of 2 sublevels. Here another orbital number 1 appears. That corresponds to the 2 p's under the level, and here we have then a value associated with L, which is minus 1. 0 plus 1, which corresponds to 3 quantum cells, and minus 1 is the first cell, 0 is the second, plus 1 is the third. In this case, we will have 3 orbitals. Here are 3 orbitals, and there will be 6 electrons on them. Then the third energy level, it repeats 0 again. It corresponds to 3s. That would correspond to 0 of one quantum cell. There's 1 orbital and 2 electrons. 1 is added, that would be 3 p's. That would correspond to minus 1. 0 and plus 1, and 3 quantum cells. Number of orbitals 3, number of electrons 6. But for the third level, a third sublevel appears, and the orbital number will be 2. Another number that corresponds to 3d orbitals. And that means we've got electrons minus 2. Minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2. And the number of cells in this case would be respectively 5. I'll show them like this, so we'll have 5. So we'll have 5 cells, so 5 orbitals, and we'll have 10 electrons on them. And let's look at the fourth energy level. The first one is 0, and that corresponds to 4s. So the magnetic number is 0, 1 quantum cell. 1 is the level, in this case, orbitals, 1 s orbital and 2 electrons here. Next, the number 1 orbital corresponds to 4 p's. That would be -1, 0, +1, and it corresponds to 3 quantum cells. There are 3 orbitals and the number of electrons is 6. You add a d under the level, 2 orbitals. That would be 4 d's. That would be -2, -1, 0, +1, +2. And the number of cells we're going to have 5 cells here. Again, each of the cells starts in the same sequence, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2. There's 5. And there will be 10. And so a third orbital number is added. It corresponds to 4 f's. And so the numbers are -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, and maximally +3. But the number of cells in this case will be 2 more. Hence they will be 7. And such cells are distributed exactly the same way. There will be 7. And therefore there are 14 electrons on it. So the electrons in the atom are placed according to a certain principle. This principle is called the principle of least energy, the Albao principle. But in order to make it clearer, we will understand it in the next lesson. And I hope how to work with quantum numbers and how they are interpreted for the electrons is clear to you. Goodbye.